Yeah, you look at you skinny bastard, you. I hate you. You can throw on a suit. What do you weigh, 9 pounds?
No, I'm about 150.
Look at that. Look at that, 150. Jesus. Mr. Dennis George Mahan, also known as Deney Terrio.
Oh, we're going there, I see. Yeah.
Welcome to the Disco Chronicles. And how have you been doing? How have you been feeling?
Oh, I'm great. You know, I stay in shape. I eat right. I get plenty of sleep.
Now, you know, our journey goes back since the beginning of, I'm going to say, was it Dance Fever? Your dance competition show, and you're with the Dancers Motion. Tell our fans around the world, what was the experience like to represent disco music at that time on a national level, produced by our longtime friend Merv Griffin? And well, what was the experience like?
It's a crazy thing. I went to Merv. He was doing a show, Thank God It's Friday, from the movie. He was bringing all the acts on Thursday and Friday night. Well, Donna Summer came on Thursday, and none of the other acts wanted to come on Friday. So he called me in the office. He said, I don't know what to do. I've got a Friday that's blank.
You had the TV show already, and then you had no guests?
No, I had no TV show at the time. So I told Merv, I said, why don't we have a dance contest? You know, the big thing in Saturday Night Fever. He loved the idea. He sent me out to San Francisco, New York, Dallas, and San Diego. I got some couples, brought them in. They brought in Bill Wardwell from Billboard magazine. You know Regine, right?
Remember right, Regine? Yes, that's right, and, Regine.
And the guy from Casablanca Records, what was his name?
Neil Bogart?
Yes, Neil Bogart, as judges. So they had the dance competition there. It got the highest ratings Merv had had in 13 years.
When did you originally do it, though?
At Merv Griffin Studios, TAB.
At the Merv Griffin Studios. So you filled out the whole theater.
Yes, yes. And what happened, he said, we're going to keep the dancers over. We need a host. And I said, okay. By the way, I was, at that time, I was farsighted. I couldn't see far away, so they had to bring the cue cards almost 8 feet away from me. But, you know, I had Bobby Benton was the judge, Hervé Villachez.
Barbie, wait, slow down. Barbie Benton?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And Hervé Villachez, who, by the way, came walking in with a 9mm on his side gun, and they had to take that away from him. And Sherman Hemsley.
These are all 70s icons, but at the time, they were just starting out in their careers. So
yeah,
now who they are, to look back at who they are, that's epic. That you had
and the great thing about it is, Sherman Hemsley came out with my 2 dancers and kind of broke that whole thing open. He started doing that dance that he does with his butt out and his arms. What they said to me is well, we need a musical act. I said, okay. And so I rattled off a couple of names. And the next thing I know, they said, guess who we're having on here? Village People. By the way, you guys were so popular back then that, you know, it was the obvious choice. I mean, for the pilot. I'm talking about for the pilot. Well, like I said, we had Bobby Benton, we had Sherman Hemsley, we had Hervé Villachez, who all had hit shows, and she was Playmate of the Year, something like that. That's right,
she was. She was, absolutely. Yeah, I remember that.
She was fine too, boy.
Yes, she was gorgeous. Now the thing is that you're with Merv on your side, and then with us with Neil Bogart and Stephen Cater, because he
Right.
was in charge of promotion. That was like easily, there was no big deal. It was like they just said it, they made the call, and made it happen, right? Like that.
Well, like I said, the night before, Merv had Neil on the show as one of the judges for the dance contest, and he loved it. Neil Bogart.
Oh, he had Neil Bogart. Got it.
This is before we did the pilot, and it got great ratings. And like I said, Merv came to me and said, we're going to shoot a pilot the next day. And that's when we had everybody come on.
And you ran for how many seasons?
8.
Dance Fever. It's time for Dance Fever starring Deney Terrio. The show featuring the country's top dancers competing for cash and prizes worth more than $75,000.
So you remember where you were when the Disco Demolition Party happened at Comiskey Park in Chicago, which was 1979. Where were you when you heard that happen?
Well, it's funny because my mother called me and said, son, somebody put a sticker on our mailbox saying disco sucks. During that time. Yeah, because they all knew, our town and everything. And I said, Mom, it's just a bunch of nuts, crazies out there, so, but yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? To me, it was the greatest music of all time. It was a happy music.
Well, it still is.
Well, for me, I mean, there were guys in Oklahoma going to dance classes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it got so wild that, even Oklahomans were going to dance classes to learn the hustle. That's how crazy it was.
With you teaching it.
Yeah, well, I had 100 dance schools put their sign outside saying, we help teach John Travolta. That's how they would get people in.
The world knows this. It's no secret, that, you are touted as the major architect of this massive movie, the juggernaut, Saturday Night Fever, with the soundtrack of the Bee Gees. How were you hired as choreographer for that?
I was living in Hollywood at the time, and I was around people like Tony Danza used to wash his Corvette, and there was a girl named Deborah Pratt, and we were out by the pool, and we were both on our little floaties, and she said, you know what, I just got a script from my manager, Bob Lamont, and they're doing a disco movie, and it was called The Tribal Rights of the New Saturday Night.
Oh, so it wasn't called Saturday Night Fever.
No. And so there wasn't even a script written yet. So she said, you ought to talk to my manager, Bob Lamont, because John Travolta's doing it, and he was managing John Travolta. So I said, okay. She said, do you have any reel-to-reel? So I went to I finally got some reel-to-reel. I took the machine over, it weighed about 100 pounds. I brought it in his office, set it down. I couldn't find the light switch. So he says to me, yeah, it was nice meeting you, I'll call you. Now, I've been eating a lot of peanut butter at that time, You as an artist understand what I'm saying. So, and white bread. So I started moving all his furniture, and he's freaking out. He's looking at me through the office door. And I went over to his radio, and I tuned in. Jungle Boogie was on by Kool and the Gang. And Felipe, I danced like I'd never danced before. I was doing splits and Russian leaps and knee drops.
So you actually did an audition, a live audition.
Absolutely. So he looks at me and he gets on the phone. Now, I think he might be calling the cops. You just don't know. Because I mean, I was off, brother. I was going off. He gets on the phone and he calls Paramount and he goes, I don't know what this guy's doing, but it's fantastic. You gotta check this out.
But that was like what came out of the clubs and into the discos, what the street dance from the dancers, the Italians and the blacks and Latinos and gays, that the stuff that they were doing on the street, even the hustle, like that went into the clubs, but it came out of the streets first, out of the neighborhoods.
Well, that's how I made my
name. Because you not only taught John Travolta this thing with that famous, but the hustle. You do the hustle like the old school way.
We don't know how to disco.
You can't dance? Get the right moves. Get Night Moves by Deney Terrio. I taught John Travolta how to dance, and I can teach you in this instructional double album and book.
Night Moves.
The professional approach to dancing. It's a fast and easy way to learn. Whether you disco or not, Night Moves helps you learn to move, to look good.
Come on and dance.
Night Moves. Learn more than footwork. Learn to freestyle and touch dance. It's easy. Get the right moves. Get
Night Moves. We'll take it.
You got to understand, I was the state champion at Disneyland in California. That's how I made my money. I used to make $150 a night. First place or second place, it wasn't big money, but I would go to all these clubs and win the dance contest. That's how I got started.
Well, it just seems to me that you have the energy and the knack and the gumption to know when it was time to strike, like the situation going to and auditioning live, like the same thing with Dance Fever. It seems that you have always been in the right place at the right time. So with John, you didn't know what the script was about?
No, I had no idea.
I recently saw the movie and I was stunned to see, and I don't know, maybe because I also was part of the business where everything was fun, yeah, great drinks and all that. I didn't really it didn't sink in. The movie was dark. And do you think, looking back, that movie wouldn't come out now?
Well, that's a great observation, because all I was doing, listen, I didn't even have the Bee Gees music till about a month before.
So yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. Like, so you didn't read the script, you didn't hear the music at all yet. You were going to teach John Travolta to dance in this film.
All R&B music, rhythm and blues, man, all R&B, and because I had to make John funky. You know what I'm saying, with the knees and the drops. And I got to say, John Travolta, probably for me, that was my first time as a choreographer. He was so gracious and so good and so attentive. And I'll tell you how I did it. He came off of Welcome Back, Kotter the first time we rehearsed, walked in the room, and he says, I already know how to dance. I said, okay. So I said, let me put some music on. So I put some music on, and he was doing the ba-ba-ba-ba-rino, I said, that was good, John, now sit down. I started kicking it, Felipe. I started kicking it. He went from the actor to the dancer, but everybody said he was, he was a phenomenal dancer. And he was. He turned himself into that dancer. And what I did is, instead of trying to tell him what to do, I showed him. And he looked at me and he said, I want to learn that. Once he did that, I knew I had him. I'd take him out to the clubs and he'd go out and dance. And next thing I know, a couple of times there were girls lined up, not because he was from Welcome Back, Kotter, but because he could dance.
Would you say that it was the dancing, it was the tight bell-bottom pants, and the Bee Gees music that really took everything by storm?
Well, that's why you forget about the dark side of it. That part was so wonderful.
That's why we forgot about the dark, exactly.
Yes. That you just remember the great music and the dancing, and so you forget about the dark side.
So now I'm doing all this research on the era and the disco era, and then Saturday Night Fever, and then going, wow, would this movie come out now? With the way everything is politically correct, cancel culture, all of this, would it? And I don't think, and also I found out as well that the Bee Gees, in an article I read, they never saw the script. Their music, Robert Thickwitz felt that the music that they were recording the album, the Chateau in France, that when they heard about the name of that movie, he felt this music is great for that movie, and they married them together. And the band never saw the script.
No.
So when did you see the full movie?
When I was at the premiere. I never,
you
know, yeah, well, what they did is they moved from LA to New York, and I didn't go. They brought Lester Wilson in to stage it. And even John said 75% of all that dancing was Deney Terrio. So the great thing about it is, you know, because of Lester Wilson, but yeah, it was me. It was me. And I'll tell you why. I just taught him what I knew at the time. And that's why I think it went off, you know. And that's why I think as a choreographer, you teach them what you know, because you don't want to go in other areas that don't work. See, for me, that music has everything. It has happiness, it has dancing, it has all the things that people like to do when they go out. So why would it ever fall to the wayside? Because there's no other music that you can dance to. That is dance music, that's happy music.
What are your favorite disco songs? Your ultimate favorite?
Well, I remember one night, you guys were on stage. We were at, was it Radio City Music Hall? Well, Madison Square Garden, one of the big ones. When Macho Man came on, I ripped my shirt off. I had my white guinea tee on. And I said to the promoter, can I go out in the audience?
That was Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden.
The Paramount.
I went out in the audience. By the time I got back over the railing, my belt was gone. All the loops were ripped off. My T-shirt was torn. So Macho Man, and I used to do this thing with my muscle. I'd make it jump up and down. And, you know, listen, your music back then was over-the-top dance music. You really, when you danced to your music, it was like the music.
Yeah, it was party music.
Thank you. Part of you, you know.
But there was so much more than just more Village People. There was Franz Jolie, there's Donna Summer, there's Gloria, and there's so many of your. But Macho Man, you loved Macho Man.
I love that.
But the thing is that when women, even back then, the ladies would see a guy really cut it nice on the dance floor, you were in trouble for the rest of the night.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I remember just not being able to get off the dance floor because another girl would show up, and sometimes a guy.
Yeah.
Can I dance with you? Like, okay, but this is not a gay club.
Believe me, I got in a lot of trouble doing that. I used to wake up going, where am I? You know?
Yeah. You know, I'm really blessed that, you know, we have had this privilege of being friends and knowing each other for so many years. So what dancers influenced you, like, say, what dancers on film? Like dancers on film, Fred Astaire, Nicholas Brothers, what?
Well, see, you named the both of them.
Oh, sorry.
I loved Fred Astaire because he made it look so easy. He'd grab a hat rack. And if you watch some of that choreography, we're talking 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and impeccable dancing. But the Nicholas Brothers, they would do splits and come up. We call them half splits in the dancing world.
Half splits and come right back up again.
And with their hands in their pockets. I stole that, you know. But both of those people. I even performed for Gene Kelly one time on the Merv Griffin show. I love Gene Kelly too. See, if you don't go back and look at some of this older, you can learn a lot. You know, you can't dismiss history.
Well, Denny, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being so generous with your time. How will my fans and your fans, and our new fans, hopefully new fans, how do they find you?
My Facebook page is the Deney Terrio Dance Party.
Mr. Deney Terrio, you know I will forever love you. I can't wait to see you. Cannot wait to see you. I love you, man. My love to Kyle and everyone, all right? And Melanie especially.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Felipe.
I love you, man.